All right. So second derivative test is kind of similar to the first one. I think the best way to see it, if you read the theory, determine the intervals for concave up and concave down. All right. So the first derivative test, we use the first derivative to find out increasing and decreasing. So the difference with this guy is second derivative tells you where you're concave. So it's almost exactly the same, except you get different information and use a second derivative. Let me go ahead and graph it so you can see what I'm talking about. And we'll do it by hand. So we know that this is a parabola, right?
Yes.
But we can, so what it means to be concave up, in case you haven't got to the theory stuff, it's basically where is it opening up or where is it opening down? But again, this particular function is always opening upward, right?
Yes.
So there's no change in concavity here. But we do need to find the we need to check for inflection points. So the first thing you're gonna do, step one, take your first derivative. That's gonna be 2x minus 2, right? Step two, find critical points, just in case. I mean, they're not asking for it, but just for the practice. Set this guy to 0. X is equal to 1. Step 3, find double prime. As you can see, it's going to be 2, right?
Yes.
Critical number was x equal to 1. Now, you can't set this to 0, right?
Correct, because there's no variable.
So because of that, there's no inflection point, but an inflection point means a change in concavity. So the concavity is not going to change since it is positive. So since the derivative, I should say, since the second derivative is always greater than 0 for any x, right? Then it is always concave up. So concave up would be the entire real numbers, which we saw in the graph, right? It's opening up, doesn't change suddenly. That makes sense.
Yes.
Let me see what I can do. Like check this guy out. Just made it up. See how right here we are concave down, then over here we're concave. Oops, computer's freezing. Concave up.
I don't know when that happens.
So like this, there's a point in there, probably this one, where it changes from concave down to concave up. This is the inflection point right there. So that's a value. It's a value where the second derivative is equal to 0. This particular x. That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. But here we didn't have an inflection point. We just had the fact that it's always positive. If it was negative, it'd be pointing downward, which is concave down. If we had an inflection point, we would test before and after, like we would do the first derivative, but we'd be using the second. Okay, let's do another one. Well, I guess on the next page. You cool on number 1?
Yes.
Okay. Let's do one that has an inflection point. So determine the intervals for concave up and concave down. F is equal to negative x cubed plus 3x squared minus 7x minus 1. So step 1, find double.
By the derivative.
Yeah, pretty much. We're gonna have to do the first derivative and then the second. Although if they don't ask for max and min, we don't have to worry about the first. Or increasing and decreasing. But if they say, hey, what's the maximum or what's the local max or whatever, you're gonna need the critical values.
All right, then for the double derivative, I got negative 6x plus 6.
Okay, so what'd you get for the first one?
For the first one, I got negative 3 squared plus 6x minus 7.
And then the second you got,
Negative 6x plus 6.
that sounds good to me. To set this to 0. You get negative x plus 1. So x is equal to 1. This
Yes.
is an inflection point. Let's graph it just so we can see it. They didn't ask us to, but I want you to see it. I believe that's it, right? Let me adjust this. That would work. Sure. There we go. You can see that little change right here, right?
Yes.
So it's somewhere in here, I believe here it's this -1. It changed from concave up, concave down. I just have a crappy picture. Oh man. I think of a way to make it look prettier. I know what I want to see. Concave up and then concave down. We can kind of we can see the answer, and if not, we'll just test around it. But anyway, we have the inflection point. So what we're gonna do is test before and after the special point. Pick the easy numbers. I think is an easy one for below.
0.
Yeah, I think that's the best one. Do you agree that this is positive, right?
Yes.
Okay, so anything after would be good.
2.
Yeah, it's fine. -6, right?
Yes.
So we have concave up over here, concave down over there. So we would say we are concave up from -infinity to 1. Concave down
Can you move the paper up?
to infinity.
Thank you.
Okay. Now what helps me remember, like later on, we're gonna find out, we're gonna use this to find out max and min. So if you're plugging in a critical value in here and it gives you a positive, then that's a maximum or a local max. So the way I remember is plus, you get a minimum, minus the maximum, assuming that this right here are critical points. Which we'll probably do that next, I think. Yeah, example 3 will actually do the local max and min. Number 2 seem okay?
Yes.
Well, let's move on to finding. Let's do example 3. Find all relative extrema of the function using the second derivative test. So here's the function. So here we're gonna have to do critical numbers. So step 1, find the critical numbers. So I'm gonna have to find the derivative. Set it to 0. Solve for x, which would be best to do a GCF, right?
Yes.
Would be x minus 3. So x is 0, x is 3. Okay. So instead of doing the first derivative test, we'll just test these points directly. But let's go ahead and find a critical point or the inflection point. So second derivative will be, what's the second derivative here?
12x squared minus 24x.
Okay, and if we set that to 0. Factor 12. Right? That would be x minus 2.
12x. Yep.
Yeah, so x is 0, x is 2. All right, give me one moment. They wanted max and min only, so all we really need to do is plug in critical numbers into f double prime. And depending on the sign, we'll know if it's max or min. So let's do it. F double prime of 0, it's a critical number. So that will be 12,
0.
Yeah, oh yeah, it is, huh? Okay, well. There we go. And since it's a inflection point, this doesn't tell us anything. So let's check the other one. 3. So f of O prime of 3,
Big number.
you agree it's gonna be positive.
Yes. Well, yeah, never mind. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be
108 minus.
okay. All right, so since it's plus, it's concave up, which means we have a minimum. So now we can make the conclusion, say there's a minimum at 3, 36, and we found no max. Okay. But you see what I'm saying, right? Since it's a critical number pointing upward, minimum. And if we were to graph it, here's our, well, was it the right number? 4x minus 4x cubed plus 7. Oh shit, I made a mistake. 3 is the minimum. It's the y value. Plug it into the wrong place. Right. That was the second derivative value, not the actual location. To find that, you'd have to plug it into the original. Right. So that
Yeah.
would be 3 to the 4th minus 4 times 3 cubed plus 7, which is negative 20. So negative 20. But anyway, does it make sense on each second derivative test to find a max or a min?
Yes.
That's pretty much it. If you want, we can look at the homework and see if you have any questions. 4.4. So it starts off asking for concave up or down locations, which is just based on the inflection point. And then it gets into, where is it? I guess the half the homework looks like Find inflection and location of concave up and down.
Oh, that looks easy enough.
And the last, the last four are about max and min.
Easy.
So it's not too bad, right? Just find the criticals and plug them into the second derivative.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's look at the next section then. Okay, 4, 5 is whatever. 4, 6 is the last, I think, of curve sketching. Oh, I guess we'll do 4, 7. Maybe not today though. All right. See the schedule again. Yeah, so we should do 4, 6. And then next week we can do 4, 7 and review. Or test 3. I think I need to extend test 3 too, right?
What does that do?
I don't know, I just thought about that. Let me see. No, it's not. It closes on the 11th. I'll probably still extend it, but yeah, I will. And do it now before I forget. Do it till 23rd, I guess. That is more than necessary. No, don't wait till the 23rd, just in case you need it.
I won't, don't worry.
Because we'll probably be done with chapter 5 by then. And test 4 will be right away.
Awesome.
That's chapter 5. We're only going to touch on it, so it won't be super long. But it's basically the beginning of Cal 2.
Cal 2. Thank God I don't have to take that.
What's your major again? Bio, you said?
Yeah. Oh, don't jinx me, man. Come on.
We'll see. I don't know.
No, no, no seeing. I was promised calculus and that was it. I'm gonna have some words if I have to do calculus too.
Yeah. I mean, it depends what you're gonna do. Oh, what's the goal again after or for bio?
After this degree, I'm transferring to psychology.
Okay. You gonna go PhD or master's?
Yeah, I'm gonna go for my master's and then maybe a PhD program later.
If you
Once I
can, I would
have
suggest trying to go straight into PhD because you'll do the master's along the way anyway.
that's true.
And if you, I mean, it's frowned upon, but you can always get the master's and stop. You'll piss off the PhD people, but you know, who cares? Do whatever you want. But if you
I
get a
already have a
master's,
job lined up for me.
oh, you do?
Yeah, I just need to actually get the degree.
What are you gonna do?
Become a therapist.
Hmm. Where at, if you don't mind me asking?
Courage Ranch here in Floresville.
Where?
Or the one they have in Carnes now.
Hmm. I'm sure you would do great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sick of my patience, I sure hope so.
Yeah.
Can you
Plus,
imagine?
I'm sure you have a lot of experience and background in that world in general.
Oh yeah. Primed and ready. That's why I'm excited to move to psychology. I've already heard all the terms.
Yeah, it's true.
Like I've already done all this. And I'm just doing it again, except I'm in charge.
That's awesome. That's cool. You have a job set up. It's really cool.
Yeah, it was a. I'm really excited.
Okay. So 4.6. It's basically what we're doing is pretending the graphing calculator does not exist.
No, I love the graphing calculator.
So you're gonna pretend it's the 1800s, and you want to graph this guy. So
Yeah,
you
well, first of all,
use.
goodbye all of my rights.
True, you probably wouldn't be allowed in college, but
I know, it's like, hey, I'm excused. Class is over.
yeah, I will let you in here.
It's okay, I'm just the janitor.
It's messed up. All right. Okay, so pretend there's no calculators, and you still have your rights. You can use clues, hints, and the ideas, concepts about derivatives to figure out what the graph looks like. So you're just kind of like using all the hints to graph it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's going to be a sketch. It's not a perfect graph. So first step is find the x and y intercepts. So just a review to find x-intercept. Let y equals 0. So here we go. 0 is equal to x over x squared plus 4. The only way that will be 0, do you agree, is when x is 0?
Yes.
So we have the intercept at 0, 0. Okay. To find y-intercept, let x equal 0. So now we have y equal to 0 over 0 plus 4, which is still 0. Turns out they're the same in this particular case. Oh, well, 5 sucks. Step 2. Find the critical numbers. And we know how to do this, right? You take a derivative, set it to 0, solve for x. I am now going to skip the derivative to save time. I feel like we've done it quite a bit. Y prime will be this. If you want to do it by hand, you would have to use the quotient rule. So set this to 0. Do you agree that the only way this would be zero is if the top is zero? The bottom will have no,
Yes, so it would need to be 2 or -2.
pretty much, so. Let's just set the top part to zero, basically, which would get what you said. I'll skip that part too. Here's our X values. Crits. Critical numbers. So far, so good, right?
Yes.
So it wants us to, the next step to graph this guy. Find all extrema points. So test around these values like before. So we got -2 and we got 2. So I'm going to test the derivative at, I don't know, -3, I guess.
Yeah.
That looks like, oh, let's see. -3 squared plus 4 over -3 squared plus 4. That looks like the bottom will be positive no matter what, right?
Yes.
The top is going to be a -9 plus 4. So this is negative. I don't really care what the number is. We're negative over here. Do you agree with that logic?
Yes. I do.
Okay, cool. It's my one true master is logic. 0 squared plus 4 plus 0 squared plus 4. This is going to be 0 plus 4.
It's positive.
Yeah, plus. And do you agree that if I plug in 3, it'd make no difference, but that's like as if we were to use a -3?
I agree. It would make no difference.
So negative. And if you wanted to see it, you would just plug them in. Put in your calculator. If it's negative, you're negative in this interval. It's positive, we're positive. We're negative over here. But this is what it's going to be. Okay. Cool. Well, nice. Good news in Wisconsin. Nice. Or good political news. Sorry, got distracted.
No, no, what was the news? I want to know.
It looks like the state Supreme Court in Wisconsin gained a liberal judge, which is now going to change which is now going to basically undo the abortion ban and undo the gerrymandered maps. Potentially.
Awesome.
They're most likely going to vote
Counting it.
like crap. So Wisconsin's going to change, it looks like, over time.
Like, this is the day that Trump got arrested. Allow it to be beautiful.
What'd you say?
This is the day that Trump got arrested. Allow it to be beautiful for a second longer.
I know, right? So it's a good day.
Any day where they get what they deserve is a good day.
Yeah, it's those are pretty rare these days, man.
It's weird days.
It's crazy. Okay. Oh, I forgot to mention. But yeah, I think that Wisconsin is changing overall. I think it's just the beginning. This is the beginning of a big change. So this means we have a max here. Minimum. Oh, actually. Backwards. Okay. So we have a minimum at -2, maximum at 2. So we just need to find the y values and we're done because we need that information in order to graph. We need all of this to sketch it because calculators do not exist. Yeah, if you're going to psych, I don't think it matters. No, you don't need Cal 2. I would say you need some more statistics.
That's fine with me. I like statistics.
Yeah, like you'll for sure be doing that in grad school, like crunching data for a study or an experiment. That's very useful. One of my
I love data. Like, just plug it in. Love it.
no, yeah, data is fun. One of the places I'm tempted to change careers to. This AI and data stuff is fun. Okay. So plug it in here, the original. In order to find the location, right, for y. So at 2, we have 1/4. So that means that -2, we have -4th. All right, so relative maximum at 2, 1/4 relative minimum at -2, 1/4, actually negative. Yeah, okay. So now we have all this information. You're still with me to this point, up until this point.
Yes, somehow.
Yeah, you can see why it's annoying, right? The only reason I make people do
I can
this.
see why someone finally broke down and invented the graphing calculator.
It's an amazing tool when you think about it. Remember when some of my older professors
Beautiful, beautiful tool.
they told me how they'd carry around the slide rule. Like, man, they had holsters before they had like
That'd be like one of the biggest marks of nerddom.
pretty much like you go to all the engineers and math peeps just had math physicists, they all had like slide rule holsters. It was a Wild West, good times. Nowadays they just have them on walls. They don't carry them anymore. But yeah, super nerdy. All right, so I'm setting it up this way so you can kind of see what's happening. So we know we have a maximum here, right? So it has this kind of shape. We have a minimum at -2, 1/4. I'm making tick marks of 1/4. Then this is 1, 2. So here we have a concave up maximum. Sorry, minimum. Local minimum here. We also have a X and Y intercept there, right? Okay,
Oh, X and Y intercept is they're both at 0, 0.
yeah, so we're in the
So you're the origin.
center. So that means we're going to connect them like so. There's my sketch. So all this information and work is to get a sketch. Any questions about this?
No.
Well, the original was x squared, x over x squared plus 4, right?
Yes.
Okay. Made a little mistake. My bad. It doesn't cross the x-axis over here. It only has 1 0. There's no other zeros. So my drawing's a little off because I forgot about rational expression properties. The bottom will never be 0, and it only has one
They're
actual.
gonna take away your license to teach.
I mean, they might have there.
I don't forgive blunders like this.
Honestly, it's kind of one of the reasons why. Well, not that, but one of the reasons I'm considering leaving teaching is all the weird politics stuff that's happening to.
Yes. Oh my God. I wouldn't be able to do it. I once considered teaching and then I was like, you know what? I don't want to do it. I don't want to deal with everything. I don't
Yeah,
want to deal with like the stupid government stuff. I don't want to deal with that like no child left behind. Don't want to do it.
and they're going after professors because they want to get rid of our tenure because they know if we speak up, we're protected, and they want to take that away because they're
Oh my God.
state schools, so they could probably manage it. It's on their agenda. They've been talking about it.
Jesus
How much
Christ.
headway they've made, but I mean, they already took it away at the community college level, so they're not going after university level.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, but anyway, it's a complex and disturbing issue. We'll talk about that another time.
I don't think it's all that complex.
Perhaps not.
It's like I think they're making a choice and making everyone else deal with it.
Yeah, pretty much. It's really disturbing.
Like you don't have to be
We're
like you
also,
don't have to be efficient and
what's that?
be just like you don't have to be complex to be like efficiently bad. You can be disturbingly simple and get that done.
Yeah, I guess so.
I like it better if there actually was a secret plot, you know? It's like stop doing all this in the open. Have some shame.
Honestly, it is pretty surprising how brazen they've become. I don't know, but
It's because of Trump and all of his saying it out loud shit.
yeah, I guess they realize that they can. No one cares. Okay. I know I think I might have mentioned this before, but this was before my time. I think they passed a law that oh, I think we did talk about it. Was I think it's all state employees are not allowed to strike in Texas,
Yeah,
and they told us
which is ridiculous.
if we ever, as teachers, if we ever strike, they would take our pensions. So I'm like, okay, no wonder we can't fight for anything.
Right? It's like you took away any sort of bargaining power. I say we resume arson. Just a little bit.
Resume
Just for
arson.
fun. Yeah. Well, look, this was an agreement on our behalf, as the people, as the working class. It's like, oh, you know what? Instead of like killing you, we'll just unionize and we'll give you all of our complaints so you can address them there and not when we're like trying to kill you. And you're like, oh yeah, that works great. But I think they've forgotten that there was the threat of trying to kill them.
True, and there was those were some interesting times, that's for sure. Back when
Let me tell you, the
workers
worker
were
had a lot more
united.
bargaining power.
Yeah, maybe we should go back to that.
At least some arson.
Yeah, but I think now, I mean, I don't know. My own theory, I guess, is we're too divided to band together and make a good, decent change in what's in anything. But I don't know. Maybe that's me being negative.
I mean, I definitely agree we've become a lot more divided. I think it was really weird, it's like that paradox of social media as we've become so much closer and also so much more divided.
Super weird.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it really is super weird.
yeah, it's sad. Like I don't know how many times I've heard uh people saying they don't talk to their dad anymore because of politics or their grandpa or uncle or whatever. That's fucking sucks.
Yeah. I mean, Fox News and Republicanism had definitely cornered the market on fanaticism.
Yeah,
And there's actually a lot of horror stories, and they're all really sad of like people whose elderly like parents or grandparents were in the hospital, and these people were leftist before that, but in the hospital, what they had playing on was Fox News just nonstop. And because it's that, nonstop programming, and with how it works with the
yeah,
what is it, like word bombing and all that stuff, it's like brainwashing.
yeah. It's
Your
tailored
body
perfectly.
and brain doesn't have enough time to combat it because they just keep spewing stuff, and you can't think of reasonable explanations for all of it or doubt all of it. So some of it just gets wedged in your brain.
Yeah, I wonder if it's because they're older or they're just born into that world
I
or
think it's a combination of both. Well, I mean, it is an actual documented phenomenon
hmm.
with it being kind of brainwashy and allowing for it's really almost like subliminal messaging, which is never a thing I thought would be close to real, other than advertisements. Um, but it's just
Yeah,
because like
it's perfectly
Tucker Carlson,
uh-huh.
for instance, he'll just say all these things, just rapid fire, like name one thing after another, and they're all false, of course. But your brain physically does not have the time to recognize all of them as false. So
Mhm.
some of them will just end up in your head, and with it repeating over and over again, like in that hospital setting, it just gets kind of stuck in there. It gets ingrained. There's a pathway that forms.
And he doesn't even make statements. He just asks questions like insinuating over and over again. Like it's like super annoying to watch. Like, come on, man. You're just letting people make assumptions. That's all you're doing. Like, but yeah, he's bombarding them with garbage.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, unfair battlegrounds because, the Democrats are a self examining party and Republicans are not. So a Democrat will doubt all day, bad Democrats or any Democrat that they don't find in their wheelhouse. But Republicans will never doubt a bad Republican. They will
yeah.
never examine the party
Why is that?
critically.
The only theory I have is like
It
tribalism.
Yeah, I mean, it really relies on the defensive nature, and it's what republicanism and that kind of conservatism has relied on for a long time, which is that defensive nature. Way back when the slavery was still going on, and the Civil War, and then later even the fight for rights for the workers. The U.S. government and a lot of other agencies put actually a lot of stock into dividing people based on race, because if they weren't divided on race, they would see the divisions between wealth. And
Mm,
that's actually one of the reasons why, because slavery was first an economic institution before it was racial,
true.
which, it later carried on to being racial, but it was after this. It was because before, you had white slaves, you had like the Irish, and you had others, and indentured servants of
Mhm.
every color. But it was when that wealth inequality was really becoming more noticeable and people began banding up that they really decided to go all in on a racial divide. I can't remember the phrasing exactly, but it was to make sure that like the poorest white man felt they were better than the best black man.
Oh yeah, was it
And it was,
is it LBJ? Is that what it was?
I have no
I
idea.
think he made that.
But I mean, it was very effective. We still see those racial divisions and that inability to come over them to join in that class union.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I feel like it's ingrained in us to be tribal, and we have to make an effort not to be, not to exclude or mistrust other tribes. But it did help us survive and kill off all the other hominids, or breed with them. I guess that's another thing. But I wonder if that's become a weakness of humanity or original strength. You know. Uh, anyway, let's do this last example before I get depressed.
Okay. One thing in Utah, we got to see Nicole Hannah Jones speak, and she is a marvelous, marvelous speaker. We're actually trying to get her down at St. Philip's.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Let me know if she ever does or if she's ever nearby.
Will do.
Okay, so same procedure. We have a function. We want to graph it or sketch it. Find the intercepts. Let for the x, let the y be 0. Obviously, it's only going to be 0 here. Intercept for y, let x be 0, and you end up with the same spot again. So it just so happens it's similar to the last one. Take a derivative, set that to 0, find your critical number. We only have one. Take the second derivative and find the inflection points again. And we end up having two of them, -2 and 2. So we'll graph that in a moment. Plug in your critical into the second derivative, and it's going to be plus, right? You see that negative, negative, positive. So we have a minimum. Okay, so with all that info, let's graph it. Minimum and 0, 0 looks like. The same procedure as last time. Does that make sense so far? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So put all that together. By the way, I was not making an argument for racism. I just think that is a theory
No, don't
and
worry.
people are racist. I just realized it could be taken two ways.
I did not take it that way
I figured, but
at all.
just in case.
No, I mean it's one of those things that's really interesting to look at, and that's why I majored in biology here.
Mhm.
Is evolution just so interesting, and what it prioritizes is also interesting. What always drove me crazy and will probably likely drive me crazy until the end of my life or until I forget about it, which hopefully is soon. Um, is the need to prioritize the next generation. Like, what is it in our DNA that is just so ingrained on making sure that DNA continues? Because you see that in every organism.
Mm.
You see it, especially in the spiders that will let their young eat them, but won't if they feel like they have been affected and are weaker.
They would eat the weak young.
Well, they would let the young eat the mother.
Oh, you mean like if they had no food?
So it's just that ultimate prioritization of the next generation. And it's so intriguing because it's such a base instinct and it's such a deeply coded thing in like living DNA. But it's just like, what is it in DNA itself is largely non-living thing, like just DNA. What is it in there that's in all DNA that is prioritizing its continuation, its multiplication?
Yeah, I mean
Anyway.
that is that's like asking why we're here, you know? That's very
Yeah.
it's not a very
But it's almost like the opposite end. It's
yeah, yeah, it is. It's
like why does it matter?
mhm. It's like the other side of the coin, I guess. Um like why do we keep dividing? Why do cells keep dividing? Why do we keep multiplying? Why do we keep going? Same for trees, plants, animals, people, whatever. Um I don't know. That's a very good question. Let's
Anyway, I had that question when I was like 10 and I've never quite recovered.
yeah, no. I hear you.
After that, I was a very different person.
That's a very deep question for a kid for sure. And I don't think anybody could. No one will be able to. No one can answer it for you. You know.
No, they weren't able to. I became very disappointed in adults for not the first time in my life.
yeah, that's fair.
I was like, what's the point of being an adult if you don't know all this stuff? This is like the fun stuff.
I don't know. Just go with. We were designed by aliens. That's why that was their goal.
Can't do it again, man.
okay. Here's my beautiful graph. I call it garbage. okay. So -2 and 2 are at 1/4. Uh, our minimum was here at 0, 0, which is also the intercept. And our inflection points are right here. You can kind of see it. It's hard to draw. Right there. We're changing from concave down to concave up. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
And you'll find these points by just plugging them in, right? Because y of 2 is equal to 2 squared over 2 squared plus 12, which is fourth. Y of -2, same crap. 1/4. That's why I got these guys. Now, this is 1. Do you see why there's an asymptote up top? This is back to
Yes.
college algebra. I'm gonna grab it for you so you can see. See how there's that boundary? So, these x squares are gonna overpower each other as x goes to infinity. So they'll basically cancel out when we're talking about humongous numbers. So it's never gonna pass 1. So if I put like 10,000 up here and 10,000 in there, it's basically 1. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you put infinite values, it approaches 1 the further I get, but it never gets there. So it's a horizontal asymptote. This is the idea of asymptotes from college algebra when you're dealing with rational expressions. But that's why I knew it was going to be capped up top. Although their drawing is much prettier, mine looks like alien drew it, but that's cool.
That's okay. Yours just looks like a compound bow, and the other one looks like a long bow.
What does this one look like?
A compound bow?
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Some of those fancy ones. I've never used a compound bow. I don't like them.
Me neither. Are those the ones with the little like pulleys?
Yeah. I mean, they all have like pulleys, but that one has, they're more defined and they're weirder looking.
I see. All right, but yeah, that's pretty much it for 4-6. That's the whole idea. Let me show you. You get a function, find the intercepts, the minimums, and points of inflection, and then you just kind of pick the graph. So on the exam, I'll just have one of these because they're long.
Thank you.
So just find all this info, write it down, and give me your best sketch. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Awesome.
And it's supposed to be a sketch, so it's supposed to be shitty.
Now it seems like a challenge.
Give me your best compound bow.
Let me get my little angle measure in my calipers.
And put it in your holster.
No, I'm not gonna do that. I'll just have like a bag. Hide them from the world.
Yeah, like one of
No
those.
one needs to know.
What do they call them? Those where they put bullets on their chest, those little straps.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
a bunch of math measuring tools on there. It's cool.
Horrific.
It's not. It's not weird.
Oh my God.
Oh, I won't judge you. Everyone else will, but that's cool. Okay.
I would judge myself.
See that.
I'm not gonna have like bandoliers of
And
that's insane.
and a giant slide rule on your back and then
Oh,
It's gonna be
C
epic.
square.
It's a legendary.
But not, that's the opposite of legendary. What's the opposite of a legend?
I don't know.
I'm Googling it. Legend, antonym.
Imagine it's like
Oh, it's just truth. Damn it. Low status. Coward. Okay. Failure. This is so mean.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, damn. I was thinking more like infamous or something now.
Right. But I think dud really fits it in such a like succinct manner.
Yeah, it kind of does. Oh man. It's gotta be a Halloween costume now. It's gotta be.
No.
It's gonna send you a pic one day, 5 years from now. It's just
You finally broke down and did it, and I'll consider it your midlife crisis. Like send you some mental health resources.
gotta join the people of legend.
Really would not be in a good place if you stoop that low. That is a horrific image.
Yeah, it kind of is. You'd be ready for all kinds of science all the time. On that image, we should call it a night.
Okay. Good
We'll
night.
we'll start on I guess review. Oh, there's one section, then we'll review next time I see you.
Okay. Which is Thursday.
Yeah, it should be Thursday.
Awesome.